So we're in our artistic media studio in Chiang Mai, Thailand, and we're very fortunate tonight. Bhakti Vijay Trivikram Maharaj with us. Now he's Srila Trivikram Maharaj because Srila Gurudev gave him the position of the Guru Acharya of Brazil. And Brazil is a beautiful country. It's hard to say how many cultures there, how many tribes there, but have you ever been in Amazonka? Have you ever preached Krishna consciousness in Amazonian jungles?
No, never. I met people from tribes,
Yes.
and of course, maybe most of the, I don't know most, but lots of Brazilians they have pretty much native blood. Yeah,
Ah.
that I'm preaching now. We have some devotees in one town called Uberlândia, and in Uberlândia you can see, everywhere you can see, but there I noticed more. You can see the features of the natives, and it's funny because nobody knows we have still running, like 200 languages
Yes,
still in Brazil.
that's what I said. I don't know
Yeah.
how many languages there.
Yeah.
The one important question. You told me the history of Brazil when Catholics, Jesuit orders came to promote Christianity in Brazil. What did they do actually?
Well, as I read in the books, they were very powerful priests and very austere
Yes.
and scholars.
Yes.
They came from one school in Spain. Now I forgot the name of the main person, but they were very tough.
Yeah.
They used to walk, not getting any facility, sleeping on the floor, and they were very learned persons.
Yes.
Then they went to Brazil, and they started preaching to the natives.
Yes.
And the natives, some of the tribes, they were very simple-hearted people, very humble people, very sweet people, and it was easy to convert them in Christianity. And then, he started, I don't know the word in English, but the main guys, you have a bunch of guys preaching there, but the main guys, they have some ideas to interact with their own culture, bringing them and facilitating with their own culture. Then they translated many of the Latin prayers and songs or whatever in their language.
This is a very interesting point because the Krishna consciousness in the form we're getting from Bengal, Mahaprabhu, songs of Narottam, Bengali songs, the drum culture must be very appealing to Brazilians. I'm sure they love the drums.
Yeah.
But as far as the philosophy and songs and poetry, do you think is there necessity of adapting certain concepts for Brazilian people?
I don't know for them. I can say for me,
Yes.
sometimes I feel, I would feel weird like singing, Kali Kukur like in Portuguese because
Yeah.
I'm so many years I'm singing in Bengali.
Yes.
But I feel the necessity of understanding and have a heart when you are singing. And
Yes.
it's easier to have a heart when you know the meaning or
Yes.
when you are speaking in your own language.
Yes.
Some guys they're fortunate, they understand Bengali and through the years they get the
Yes.
idea.
Yeah.
But regularly it's just I feel pretty much like a parrot business. But also I heard from Gurudeva, and if it's different, someone can correct me. Gurudeva said, because I came with this subject to him, and he said, if they're singing, they are getting sukriti, even if they don't understand the meaning.
Sure.
They're getting the sukriti.
But it's funny, one of the leading popular singer in Brazil, his name is Lenin.
Lenin, yeah, I know.
And I met him in Russia when he came to one of our World Music Festival. So I said, how come? I have an interview with him. I said, how come you end up with the name of Lenin and never been in Russia? Does Lenin somehow connect with you? And he said, well, I connect with my grandfather. He was a Communist Party. And now he's like a Lenin of Brazil who's happened to be like kind of hip, poet and singer.
Yeah.
And so what I mean is do you think we need some kind of poets and singers who can express Vaishnava ideas? I mean, worldwide, especially Brazil, where they could, artistically represent spiritual concepts.
We have one Gita in because Northeast country, it's famous for them to be scholars in the language.
Yes.
You have many poets and the politicians, they speak nicely, they understand the language.
Yes.
You know, and one guy from Northeast country, he made a guitar with all the artists. He knows everybody there,
Yes.
all the big like Caetano Veloso, Gilberto Gil. They are very,
Yes.
you know, they are top guys in Brazil.
Yeah.
And he made a guitar in his own culture. There is a culture in Northeast country. They start singing some stories,
Yes.
and they have a book hanging in some lines. You know, they
Yes.
hang the books, and they start singing in a very different way. They never finish the stories. Then you buy
Yes.
the book.
Yes.
So he made that style for guitar
Ah,
in a
that's
very
what-
sophisticated way, because he's a sophisticated guy. Regularly, those guys, they have some poetry. They're more simple. And those people, they're very high class. And then they made this, we call literatura de cordel.
Yes.
What means, you know, you have the booklet hanging in some, you know, you're exposing, and then you start singing with some percussion, you know, some instrument. Then when you don't finish, everybody wants to know what's the end of the story.
That's normally how I do my lectures. But the point is, see, we start moving from poetry into Gita. I know also you just published one Gita in Portuguese. It was very successful. Tell me about that preaching.
That was beautiful. You know, that was Srila Govinda Maharaj. Everything is Srila Govinda Maharaj's mercy in my
Yes.
life. I mean, Sri Guru's grace
Yes.
in my life. And the devotee's grace, of course.
Yeah.
Because I was talking to, I don't know if I spoke about that the last time with Goswami Maharaj here. But we also understand that Gurudeva had many friends around him. And those friends, they were very important. And if you could recognize them, then you have some
Insight.
Yes, entrance, you know. Otherwise, you cannot understand who he is. So many devotees, you know, in his inner circle can make you approach and have a better understanding of what he wants. And if you try, like someone told me another day, you know, I had a direct connection with Srila Govinda Maharaj. Then I told him, if you had that, means, you know, according to the examples we had in the scriptures, means, you know, you were seeing from far. You were seeing the Everest from far. But when you approach Everest, you see many
Yes.
mountains
around.
Then you cannot even see.
You know, the reason I smile because one of the mountains just came into our studio.
Yeah, I know.
And
Where is him? He's hiding?
Yes, he's hiding right now. He'll be
Yeah.
the guest of the studio. But what you said is very, very important. So you get to know Guru by his associates. It's almost the same principle applied to Krishna. You can't really understand Krishna unless you understand the devotees. It says in Gita, Janma karma chme divyam smaram yaveti tatvatah. And this is very beautiful what they've said. But see, many people coming to Krishna consciousness, few can get access to internal realm of devotees, and it's a big, big fortune. So tell me how your connection with Krishna consciousness happened.
I
and
remember
how
one thing that I want to mention.
Yes.
That it's funny that, you know, I was, first of all, I started doing my service as a bodyguard.
Yes.
And that was a little annoying, you know, because I want some intellectual title. And
You want to be intellectual bodyguard.
Yes,
right?
like, you know, a bodyguard.
Spiritual bodyguard.
And beating the old guys in India.
But you know, like Bhakti Rakshak, it's
Yeah, but well, he's the supreme guardian. You know, I was just a Brazilian gunda.
So you came to. Our
Then,
viewers don't know this
Then
word.
I
but
was.
tell-
Let me tell you,
You
I
came
was.
to India, right?
No, yeah, I came to India because Gurudev went to Brazil, and I asked him how often disciples should go to see Guru.
Yeah.
He said at least once in a year. Then I made my target. You know, I have to go once in a year and stay with my Guru. Then, first time was in Avadhut. Then I went to Calcutta. He was there. Then Shuta Shrava Vaishnava Maharaj was there. And I was like spacing out, going for some Bengali class, and Gurudeva said something he wants me around him. Then Vaishnava Maharaj came and he grabbed me like this, you know what does it mean? Do you know? I said, what's going on, man? What's the problem? No, Gurudeva is telling you to stay with him. And you were like spacing out, going here, going there. Then he gave me some clue, you know, what was going on. That it's very important. You have to sit down with him and stay with him. Then was my first time that I was hired.
Well, what did you got in this personal connection? What was it for you?
Then, I start serving, helping serving prasadam for the Vaishnavas around him, Sannyasis, and then he invited me to take prasad. Then I want to mention that because this is very funny. Then you arrived on the scene.
Yes.
Then you taking prasad with Gurudeva, and I was taking prasad, and then Avadhut Maharaj taking prasad. Then Gurudeva is smiling to Avadhut Maharaj, and you want more. And I was like neglected. And I would say, I want more too.
Yeah.
Then I like one day happening that Gurudeva, you want more, taking from his plate, for his hand. And I was, man, I want some. Then, one day I could not resist, and I went with my bowl. You remember that? And I said, I want something else. And Gurudeva just looking at me. That was worst. Was very funny. I was really jealous, to see, he's feeding you with his hands. And then I understood, how much love he had for you, how much affection and love for your sacrifice and many things I saw like you doing that was really amazing and crazy sometimes, but I had that point in my favor.
But this interview is not about me, it's more about what you felt.
But this is good.
So now I understand, you felt jealousy.
Yeah. Then one day you make.
And that's divine jealousy.
You remember one day you making Gurudeva some medicine. You came up you showed up with some medicine. Yes. And then Gurudeva didn't want to take. Yes. Then you make one, yes, looking at him, and then making two, offering him, and
he took it.
Yeah, he took and you took it. In a bamboo stuff, you remember that?
Oh yeah, that was like a diabetic medicine.
Yeah.
Actually, I'm missing it right now, but see.
Well, anyway, what I got from that, that my life became, I'm not a scholar, I'm not a pandit, I barely know like some shlokas. I always say when I'm giving class, in Brazil we have a saying, it's something that goes like that. In a land of blind people, the man who has got one eye, he's a king. Yeah. Then I just quote like 5 slokas, and they all say, oh, you know many things. It's just the same 5 slokas always, Then, but what I really understood, was something unique. For me, Krishna consciousness, it's all about people. That's what it's meant for me.
Not about Krishna?
No. It's nothing to do with Krishna.
That's an interesting point.
Krishna
consciousness has nothing to do with people. With Krishna, it has to do with people who are conscious of Krishna.
Yeah, something like that. Now you're confusing me.
Well, I mean, it's an important thing because we're going to original point. You've got initiated. Basically, you recognize your guru. You went to India, and then
I think pretty much he recognized me. He accepted me.
Okay.
He's showing who he is for you. Then you have that feeling. I have to surrender here. I don't think I had the capacity to analyze. Here is the guy. I think he's like empowering you, giving you some sukriti. Then you can recognize something extraordinary. I like to use this word. I'm always using because it's awesome. It's extraordinary. And like Goswami Maharaj said, I have my own eyes. So I saw something that no one can, maybe if I offend devotees and I start doing nonsense, this eye will, they will shut.
Yes.
But I mean, I saw
then
something.
You'll no longer become a king in a blind people's society.
No, I'll be blind. Yeah. I don't know if I'm still blind, but in some level.
I want to ask you one thing. Normally, in this show, we don't talk about bad things, bad previous experience, especially the Acharya. Now you're like a guru of Brazil. And so when Prabhupada was asked how to describe Guru's life before he became Guru, he said, well, you start from the point he became Guru. But I know you have very interesting life before you joined Krishna consciousness, and you was connected with Rohini. She's one of the leading yoga teachers and spiritual persons. And so tell me how you connect with Srila Govinda Maharaj. Tell me a little bit of that.
I told the first contact. We had Bhuvana Mohan, Tapasi Maharaj preaching there.
Yeah, he's a great man.
Then many people used to come to me, do you know Guru Maharaj? I said, Guru Maharaj for me was someone else.
Yes.
Then in 1989 or 1990, a friend of mine, Nagendra, he gave him one book, The Search of Sri Krishna. Then I started reading that book. Mm-hmm. So they tried to, one sannyasi in the previous institution, he told me, no, this is not good to read. They will be angry with you. Then I told, so I quit. the first moment. Then I packed and I left to my sister's house. I couldn't digest that someone was trying to forbid me to read that book. Then I knew a friend of mine, he's living at the ashram now. He was staying in Rohini's house, so I went to search for him. Then I met Rohini, and then Rohini, we started meeting more times, and we got married. Then she took me to Prema restaurant, where Bhuvan Mohan was.
Where you had so much prem from Bhuvan Mohan. Tell about Bhuvan Mohan.
He's my father in the mission.
Well,
he was starting debating with me many aspects of Krishna consciousness. And it was wonderful because going there to have a lunch was exciting because you had some powerful guy, like a mountain, like Srila Goswami Maharaj likes to compare him like a mountain, supplying everything for everybody, shelter. And then
you had debate with the mountain.
Yes, trying to trying to get my points clear.
Yes, yes.
And he was like slowly he was convincing me about some stuff. Then in 1994, Gurudev went personally to Brazil, and he established the deity. He installed the deity, Mahaprabhu, and the same Mahaprabhu is now in our ashram. Then I met Srila Govinda Maharaj. He went to Rohini's place, yoga school, and we got some of his blessings and association and lectures. Then in 96 or 97, I can't remember, we came to India again, and we met him in Avadhut. Then in 98, Srila Gurudeva came to Brazil again. And then I was like fully surrendered. I was already transferring all my services to Sri Chaitanya Sarasvati Mat. That was it.
So you've got quite interesting place, the Krishna Shakti Ashram. It sounds pretty interesting.
And of course, I have to make this addition that Rohini is the door. How I say that, the door in, like the door to Sri Chaitanya Sarasvati Mat for Srila Gurudev and Srila Govinda Maharaj for many.
Well, I mean,
many devotees
now
came.
you're sannyasi, and she's doing her own beautiful service. But describe her as a person, because we need to understand what is Rohini.
Oh, Rohini is a wonderful person. She's very performatic. She's very brilliant. Performatic means she can preach to
But why is she so famous in Brazil? Tell her what she was.
She has some stars, in favor of her. She has some stars. She pleases
well, she
people.
was a star before, right?
Yes, and
Real
another
star.
thing that is very interesting about her, she deals with the very high class people. I mean, another day we had a senator in our ashram.
Yes.
He was not there for me. Oh, I want to see Trivikram Maharaj.
But no. In Russia, senators are not high-class people.
No, I mean, but he's a powerful man. That's what I mean.
No, I understand. But what I'm trying to tell,
and that
she's
guy,
a mystical woman.
No,
she's a yoga teacher.
Yes,
she's a
superstar. She's a mystical
she's
woman.
Everything at once.
She's brilliant. She's very attractive person, and she's detached because she's around rich people, high-class people, powerful people, but she's not between them.
She tells them what to do.
Yes, she's a guide.
She's a guide. So she's like a guru woman.
Yeah.
She has yogic skills. She was a superstar, singing star in her early days.
Yeah.
Then she's become a famous yoga teacher,
Yeah.
as much as she's like yoga teacher of all the famous stars in Brazil.
Yeah.
And she's still, a great devotee who's trying to represent Krishna consciousness and has so much respect for you.
Yeah, all the people, the main stream or flow or whatever stream.
Yes.
The main stream is coming through her, so people come attracted to her yoga stuff or even counseling.
Yes.
They come, and it's very beautiful because she's not just when she's doing her palm reading, she brings people.
Have you learned anything? Can you read my palm?
Yeah, you're gonna be very successful in your life.
Okay. You mean the next life?
And then, everybody who goes there, she makes them, to go to the temple, to see Mahaprabhu, to go around Mahaprabhu. And then slowly she prepares them to have classes.
So basically what she does is she hooked up big people who have no clue what the spiritual life is. By looking at their palms, she gives them some
yoga classes and stuff.
Yoga classes, good instructions, and later send them to you, and you're like preaching to them. And
yeah, I'm just giving classes and and I got some ideas, you know, because we have yoga people, yoga groups, and we have other people, they don't know anything about Krishna consciousness.
Right, so
Then
you're
we
dealing
have
with all kinds of people in your ashram.
Yeah.
It has a yoga department where people coming, it's a guest house, and the
Yoga
highest
groups,
place
yeah.
is a beautiful mountain with Mahaprabhu temple. I want people to come to your place. You know, when I come to your place, I want to come with my guys with cameras, and we will like have a big
The helicopter
filming.
guy, where is he?
Yeah, helicopters. We come with Russian helicopters with, you
Yeah.
know, team of films, the dome, the tanks, yeah, water tanks actually. So, how big is your ashram?
Oh, it's very big, man.
How big? Well, our place is like 5 rooms.
No, I mean, you know, it's big.
How
enough.
many kilometers?
Gurudev used to say Gurudev started with 3 miles, then you know, it was 5 miles late. But he can see what
What's the like
we have. I don't
permanent
know.
size on paper?
I don't know in
Tell me
English.
I can figure out.
It's
Yards, rise.
170 hectares.
Hectares. I understand what a
Hectares.
hectare is.
I think so.
170 hectares. It's hell of a lot of land, man. You'd be lucky in Russia if you have 5 or 10.
Yeah.
You have 170 hectares of prime land in Brazil.
No, became
You're
know.
like a millionaire. How did you got this? How many people you killed for that?
Oh, many.
Well,
But
probably
you said
it's probably your grandfather who served the Portuguese kings, right? You
No,
came
no.
from the conquistador family,
Pirates.
the pirates. No, the truth. What is the truth?
Oh, the truth is, you know, who could go to Brazil in the 1500s? You know, they were not like, you know, gentle people.
They were the sword.
Yeah, they were.
So they were the kshatriyas,
I don't know.
the warriors,
Yeah, something like that.
and they had a huge land in Brazil.
No, they had. Yeah, they had. But my grandfather, he was like a powerful, like Gunda style man. He was a military man, and he was a congressman.
Oh,
And he made. You know, now we are poor. It's like, you know.
to compare to that side.
Yeah, we
You
say.
have 170 hectares, consider you a poor man. That's like a real sannyasis. All I have is 100. Please give me a little something.
But it's mainly jungle. It's mainly jungle.
Okay.
It became jungle because no one is cultivating the land. Then, you know.
So you're also lazy. You don't even cultivate your own land.
No, I have some garden. I was telling someone, who I was telling, I think it was today or yesterday, that Avadhut Maharaj wants to offer the whole, like the 3 locusts to Gurudev, and I want to just offer a cauliflower. I have a small garden, and that's enough.
So you
for
cultivate cauliflower. You're not
Yeah.
completely lazy.
No, just half
But
time.
I also heard your brother, he's a helicopter pilot.
Yeah,
So when I come to Brazil, can we fly over your land?
yeah. My brother just got a baby now, Nandini.
Uh-huh.
Govinda Nandini and my Manohar, my brother,
Yes.
just a newborn baby.
So you have also your brother devotee.
Yeah, all of them, they are initiated.
How many you have?
16? No, I'm joking.
16 brothers, more like an Indian story.
No, we are in 4. One
Oh.
sister and 2 brothers.
Oh,
and
great.
myself.
Oh, great. So you have a nice family.
Yeah.
Your grandfather was congressman. All your family favorable to devotion. That means you're very fortunate.
Well, they have
man.
no other way, you know. I'm not saying they are favorable. They were favorable. That's the good point. They were not favorable in the beginning,
No
but
one.
then they became favorable to Gurudeva.
Yes.
That's the big difference in
So
our
he
lives.
meld their hearts.
Completely, like the tough guy. My father is he was a fighter born. You know, he
Yes.
born as a fighter.
We understand.
And no cry, like, you know, just always with some gun. When he saw Gurudeva, he broke in tears. And one day we had some arguments or some discussion, and he told my mother, "You know why he's doing that to me? Because Gurudeva likes me more than him."
So your father, just by seeing Vaishnava dedicated.
And there's another funny thing. That when Gurudeva was, you know, ready to come to Brazil, he used to tell me, "I want to see, you know, what the guardian of the land, what he thinks about us." Then I was thinking, you know, in the jungle, maybe some dwarf was living as the guardian of the land. And I was imagining, man, Gurudeva can see the guardian of the land. Maybe some dwarf, he's living in the jungle with some axe, and he's hiding and I can't see, but Gurudeva can see.
Yeah.
The guardian, who is this guardian? It was my father, man. It was my father.
Then I understood. Told, man, you shouldn't call your father a dwarf, you know?
Yeah, I love it.
Anyways, we say
I gave something to Gurudev that wasn't mine. I offered him a land that was my father's land.
You know, that's the way we drink vodka in Russia, yes.
Okay.
It's a pretty good one, actually.
Yeah.
We hide in glass container. See, that's why our fortune is here in Theistic Media Studio. We're sitting with great devotees drinking pure water, and which is a rare thing in this world nowadays, and talking about some great memories. So, what I understood, the biggest impact of your life is meeting with Gurudev.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, no doubt. No doubt.
But now,
and then, have entrance with his associates and friends.
But
because I was fortunate, I got some.
But after I took sannyas, Gurudev called you to Calcutta and you took sannyas. We took sannyas the same year. But I want to ask you now some tricky questions. Forgive if now people call you Gurudev. What do you feel?
Bad. If you want to be, in a very ridiculous situation, you just take sannyasi. Because everybody will see, how, everything.
I think very ridiculous situation when you drop sannyas.
Also, but I mean, to keep the standard, I always feel this is my guru's uniform, he gave to me to dress, and this is very hard. It's very, it's a heavy weight.
Right, but that's not what you feel about sannyas. I feel how you think now you're accepting disciples, people considering you guru.
Well, this is good. This is good in one side, but when they call me Gurudeva, it's very painful. It's not good.
But it's good for them.
Yeah, no doubt. Maybe that's what they say in the scriptures.
You can't tell them, "Don't call me Gurudev."
Yeah, you used to tell them, but now it's just unavoidable. And of course, some God brothers, I told them, don't call me Gurudev in front of my God brothers. Call me just Maharaj. Because they don't like to hear that, and they are right. They have their feelings. Then I try to to be a little more careful, not to hurt anybody's feelings.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But in one sense, I can't say this is bad to have disciples, because I thought to give initiation, and I tell you why. Because I thought if I had more responsibility, would be more difficult for me to give up Krishna consciousness and do some, and go again for some stupid life. Then I thought, I need more responsibility. What means, if you have to take care, officially, you're officially in a position to take care of people. Then I understood that I would have more service.
Well,
and also, understanding they're part of my guru's idea and plan. So they're his manifestation.
I understand why you want to take disciples and take your responsibilities, because you also buy a Russian car, which breaks all the time.
Yeah.
Is that why you bought Russian car, Niva?
No, I was in love with that car, man.
Really?
Yeah. I was born to be poor. I'm not attracted to
No, but
Mercedes,
what I'm saying, does the car breaks all the time? Or
no, never happened.
Really?
Yeah.
You happen to get the expert quality, man.
Yeah, it was a nice car.
I thought you become guru and bought the Russian car.
No, then
fix the car all the time.
I like old style Jeeps. I don't like the new style.
Yes.
I like the old style.
Yes.
Now I'm getting old. Now I'm preferring the new style.
Now you prefer Rolls Royce, right? This is my situation.
Yeah, I have just 5,000 disciples and
only 5,000. Well, maybe one rich one who can offer you the Rolls Royce.
Anyway, but my Niva was a nice car. Was it? Or it was a sweet ride. No, I sold.
Oh, why you sold this Russian car?
It started breaking.
Oh. So you gave up your responsibility.
Yeah.
How long has been good for?
I think we had that Niva for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah. When Ford was asked which is the best car in the world, he said the best car in the world is new.
Yeah, no, I used to say the best car in the world is my car, because the car I have.
Yes. Well, that was different opinion, Ford and you. But anyway, tell us about Brazilian devotees. what we understood, they're actually Brazilian people, very passionate, sexy, unattentive, love parties, and you know.
Yeah, we have to understand, this is our stereotype. We have to understand Brazil is a 200 million people in a huge continent, I mean in a huge area. Then we have all kinds of people and different areas, different people. You have very religious people and very professional people, even between the devotees, you know, you have very serious people. Yeah. Of course, you go to some, you know, the stereotype.
Carnival.
The stereotyped Brazilians, they are pretty much like what you said.
Yeah.
You know, but I don't believe like all over Brazil, there are many people, they don't, for example, myself, you know, I don't like samba.
Yes.
You know, I like rock and roll.
Yes.
You know, and I know many of my friends, they don't like samba. They cannot even hear samba. But lots of Brazilians, they like samba and they like carnival. So we have a huge continent and cultures different. I think in like 500 years, it's going to be many countries in one area. Because the cultures are already, you know, being...
So are they like acceptive to Krishna consciousness when they see devotees dance with drums?
Oh, the only, I mean, there is a point in favor of
in Russia,
Brazil.
they normally hate Hare Krishna.
No, in Brazil, they are very open-minded people.
Right.
Then if you go to some areas, they are 90 or more percentage in Catholic, and 100% Christians, between Protestants and Catholics. But everywhere I go, I have nice receptions. We had a preaching in a church in that town, Uberlândia. The priest, he was very sweet. All the people, you know, they were very sweet. Then I have no complaints. You know, Brazilian people are very sweet people.
So they're spiritually receptive, open-minded.
And Bhakti Lalita, she took me, you know, you remember in the World Cup, you were there when Brazil won. I think which year was that? 2004? Well, something around that, I can't remember. Then after winning the World Cup, the whole Brazilian team, they made a circle and they praised the Lord. Means, you know, all over the country there is some theistic conception, you know. Then they're simple people. They're very simple to deal with.
Well, thank you very much. You broke my perception. Because some people think Russia, snow, bears, vodka. What do Brazilian people think about Russia in general?
They are immortals. Like Guy Ritchie present. I'm joking.
They think we're immortals, huh?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, I feel like Russian people are very tough and sweet, you know, at the same time.
At the same, like sugar pieces.
Yeah.
Tough and sweet.
Yeah. That's what I feel, you know. I can't say about Brazilians, you know, but Brazilians, they are very welcoming people. Any foreigner, you know, like you said, you know, it's easier for you to go and preach than myself. They love, and Bhakti Lalita had that experience preaching there. Goswami Maharaj had that experience. They love foreigners. It's always...
Even if they're Americans?
Man, they love Americans.
Really?
Yeah.
I mean, is that because you're in our studio, or...?
Of course, man. Yeah.
Because not everywhere in Latin America they love Americans.
This is, you know, just some countries I'm not going to tell, I'm not going to mention. It's not worth to mention the name of the country.
Okay, all right. So Brazil is a different story.
Completely.
How about Australians?
Well, we have here.
We have one here today.
And my first contact with Manasa Krishna was sweet. Like he was climbing the temple and establishing the new flag, and I saw that guy, you know, tough guy. Then I said, man, it was beautiful because it's very dangerous stuff, you know, going up there. You know.
He's a
then he
great
came
climber.
and said, no, indeed, I'm very fragile. I said, you are a liar.
He's going to go on show after like, 15 minutes. You know, we always have like few guests on show normally. But so let's focus on spiritual part.
Okay.
So now, I mean, you in Brazil, you're a preacher in Brazil, you have a great team of devotees who help you. There are several Gurudev God brothers and disciples who's around in Brazil, and
now we have a few Srila Maharaj's disciples, you know, my disciples, Srila Gurudeva's disciples, some of Srila Sridhara Maharaj's disciples is still around.
Right, that's a great point. But what I want to ask is, when you meet people, like Brazilian people, how you convince them to become Krishna conscious?
Well, I don't know if
What
I
do you tell
convince
them? What do they ask actually?
I think, for me, when you preach, you need to have some good feelings,
Mojo?
Naturally.
Mojo?
Yeah, maybe.
Okay.
No, I think you need some, I don't know what happens, I just preach to them, and some of them they like.
What do you tell them? Like, everybody have to dress like me, dance like me, eat like me, or...
First of all, Rohini she always, at the ashram, she's the one who started the preaching.
Icebreaker.
Yeah, then they come to the temple. Then I just answer questions. And mainly, or most of the time I talk about my experience with Srila Govinda Maharaj and how extraordinary, he is. And my time is with him. And I heard from Prabhupada, if you show you have some feelings and you are happy doing what you are doing, people will come anyway. Mm-hmm. Intellectuality many times doesn't work. I think, for me, Krishna consciousness means a transformation of the heart. If your heart is not changing, it's not growing, then something is wrong. It's not some academicism.
Yes, academic knowledge.
Academic. You go and you have books and you read the books and you memorize the shlokas. But if you're not touching your heart, how can you change your behavior? How can you move on? So it's all about heart. And Gurudev always said, it's a heart transaction. So I think most of Gurudeva's disciples and I think most of all the devotees who are still holding and trying to proceed in Krishna consciousness, they were captured by the heart. This is a heart transaction.
Well, talking about heart transactions, in China, normally, if man wants to become Krishna conscious, you have to give him more reason than women. Women are more sensitive, and in China, for instance, when we preach, we have mostly women. And what I understand is the more men, more rational, the more intellectual, the women are more open for spiritual, especially for Krishna, because every woman looking for Krishna of herself. What about Brazil? Is that more like men or women? How things connect?
We have
I'm trying
lots
to explain,
of ladies are joining.
Brazilian insight.
It's lots of ladies, and every time it's different people. But
it's like older group of people joining, the age of your father.
It's mixed.
Mixed.
So
you have men, women, young people.
Yeah, some areas we have more ladies managing and running, and some areas we have like a little more balanced.
What about children, like young people?
Yeah, now some devotees, they are thinking about that.
Because that's a very important crowd of young people, the computer culture, the games, the comic books.
Yeah, the main thing that I think my small preaching, I don't have this passion, to make big things. I think if I go dressing like that and I'm trying, if I try to be cool, to be nice to them and have a nice interaction, then slowly. And some devotees, from ISKCON, they had some nice TV programs. And what is helpful, because they go to TV. Once you go to TV and you do some show in TV, and Rohini also, like showing you have some connection with Krishna consciousness, then life becomes easier. And happened pretty much in Brazil. The same way, the TV made our life hell, talking many things bad about Krishna consciousness movement. Then, came a time in the 90s that many people went to TV, famous singers chanting Hare Krishna mantra with some sannyasis from ISKCON. Then our life became much easier. And also we have a soap opera talking about India and all the recording in India and showing the pandits and the pujas and everything. Then they saw
it's become a hip.
No, they saw, what we are doing is not something, from another planet. Just in India you have everything happening. Then they saw me, they could recognize and relate to some place, some traditional place. That's what is nice. If you relate to if you make some connection with some old tradition, it's easier to accept.
So that means Krishna is still helping us with preaching.
Krishna consciousness means he's the boss.
Well, but normally his devotees doing the work, but here in Brazil it's unique case almost like in India. He's putting some
Always,
shows on
yeah,
air.
Yeah.
That can happen only by Krishna's
And now,
mercy.
and it's again, you know, sometimes showing, and just in a carnival, you know, have you seen the parades in carnival?
Yeah.
So they made Lord Shiva. It's a very sinful place, but
Oh.
then they put like Lord Shiva, Lord Ganesha. I don't know if you are here, if you ever seen that. They have big parades
They
with like
this.
you know, it's like millions of dollars expended
Yes,
in carnival.
yes.
Then one school, what we call school,
Yes.
like one school was presenting Indian culture, then Lord Shiva, but huge Lord Shiva,
So
huge Lord
how
Ganesha.
about going with Sankirtan on Carnival? Have you ever thought of that?
They do that in Rio in the New Year's Eve.
Mm-hmm.
They make a big Sankirtan and then everybody joins.
Ah.
That's, you know, that's the nature of Brazil. They will join and dance.
Acha. So no matter what you do, they'll join you and dance.
And dance.
Well, I mean, that's one way of thinking how to explore Krishna consciousness.
And one thing I want to
bring
do,
their like 7 or 10 mridanga shows.
when you go, we can go to Amazon and go to
Yes.
some, like deep in the
Yes.
forest and make a very big Sankirtan with them.
Well, I'll tell you what I want to do in Brazil. I want to come with a film crew, with a dome. We go to Amazons. We preach to, you know, non-vegetarians there. And we have a film, and then we go to different places. That's why I want to spend in Brazil at least like 2-3 months of my life. I don't want to go just there for like one day. I want to be like part of the Brazilian environment and come there, and we can travel and we can film. So then we have some cool, you know, cool stuff, and, you know, possibly use this for preaching.
This is a good idea.
Yeah, that's why we will talk about that. But let's go back to our original topic today. So you joined Krishna consciousness, you met your guru. Finally, after some time, you had to become a spiritual master yourself. How you see the future of Brazilian people and Krishna consciousness? What do you think? Like, do you got the feeling like the gig's going to happen like in America? Is that like can that attract Brazilian people nowadays in a big way? Are they ready for like dive deep in a reality?
Yeah, I don't have that, you know, idea. I think, you know, I have my job, my humble service means, you know, I have to go and feed the. Once I asked Srila Govinda Maharaj, because people were pressing me to travel, and I don't like too much traveling. Who likes, you know, after some time you get just tired, and this is tiring. Then I told him, how often should I go? And he said, according to their
Inner
hunger,
yes.
According to their hunger, so you go and feed their plate. Then that's what I'm doing, you know. We have maybe like 4 or 5 or 6 places that I can go and preach for small groups, and that's what's happening. But some guys like, you know, Prafula Krishna and Ananda Moy, and now mainly Ananda Moy, she's like making some big programs. You know, this is a little scary because this is not my style, but they force me to go and preach and give lectures. Then can happen in a bigger scale, and you can have more people. But regularly, I believe in namahatas. I believe going house to house, you know, inviting, because it's more
intimate.
Yeah. Then you know who is coming, and you can have a different kind of relation. And if you know, my only pretension is if I can keep my job, what means, you know, keep the ashram.
Yes.
And serve Mahaprabhu and the devotees there. And what I have in my plate is like more than what I can do. But by the mercy of Srila Gurudeva, you know, what his ideas for my life and what kind of service he's going to present to me, you know, I don't know. And I'm ready to do whatever it comes, you know.
Well, Maharaj, it's very important what you've said, because once when I heard Srila Sridhar Maharaj, somebody asked him, oh, why don't you go like a big preaching to Europe? And he said, what I really want to do is recognized by Mahaprabhu as a small servitor, not as big public person, as a small real servitor of Guru Gauranga. And I think you have that very special mood, which comes from heart of Gurudev.
Yeah, maybe I'm lazy.
Oh, that's the second question. That will be the topic of our next show, because you're staying here for some time. Yeah. And then you can confess more. And
no, I like small programs. I don't like those, you know, huge. When you start talking to me about your plans for Brazil, you know, just after 10 minutes, I say, man, I want to lay down and take a nap. Really? It's like it's too much. I want just to run away and go back to my small
I want
world.
like hair and mustache, you know.
Yeah, so some people, they have this capacity. I think we have to be honest. Then I'm trying to be honest, you know.
Well, there's
just
crazy people can be honest about themselves.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think no one knows what's Krishna's plan. No one knows what we can do. I think if we get into the good company, with a good purpose, we can do many things.
Yeah.
And Krishna consciousness, it seems like one of the best purposes. It's the best purpose ultimately.
Yeah. In a group, like, you know, affectionate devotees working together, they can go far.
You know, my experience with Brazilian people was anybody like Prafula, Anandamaya, Devabandhu, Nandapriya, yourself. I was very affectionate.
Yeah, we have Rashesvari, now we have this group, new group like Vaishnava Prabhu, Sri Hari. Sri Hari is not new, but
Bhuvan Mohan was very
special man.
Very special man. Yeah. And he actually was so much jealous. He said, "Oh, I really want you to hug me." I said, "Oh, you are such a great man." No, he said, "I want some." Like, it was really amazing, all these people, and I'm really
he was very humble.
Yes, and I really think, you know, if I'm lucky, and I know I always have a standing invitation, but it's got to be also mercy of Guru and Krishna, I'll definitely go to Brazil. And, you know, we've been sharing heart here, and that's part of our show. So I don't know who can tolerate for such a long time, but we have another guest in the studio. His name is Manasa Krishna. He's just came from Australia, so while he's hot, we want to interview him a little bit.
So I leave?
Well, I mean, you can stay here and a whole.
So thank you.
Just give him a microphone. So it was Srila Trivikram Maharaj, Bhakti Vijay. Vijay means victory, and he looks very victorious. And we have another guest for the last 10 minutes. Maharaj, it was really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. Nice to do business with you.
Yes. Besides doing business, we can also play football when I come.
Yeah, I saw that.
But remember, I'm fat and I can run very slow, so you have to pretend that I'm losing. Then all Russia will stand and say, the Russian sannyasis win football. Maybe they start praying to God, like Brazilians.
I want to thank you, to be patient, to be tolerant and humble, to hear, you know, what
Well, it's not for these people, it's for the viewers. The viewers.
Yeah.
Yes.
My Dandavat Pranam.
Hare Krishna. Again, it's Trivikram Maharaj in our studio.
Yeah, now you're Austrian.
Yes.
Yeah, we can stay and see. I'm not really dressed for the occasion.
Well, I mean, that's why we want you to show you how undressed you are. So it's our second guest today in the studio, and our show is about, 10 more minutes to go. And you like it there?
Heartbeat.
Oh, it's like, okay. So then we don't want to take scope of your heart. We put close to your mouth.
Won't hear much. It doesn't beat very loud.
So we've got our old friend, Manasa Krishna Prabhu, who's been around for a long time. He's a mridanga player, famous singer. Everybody loved his songs. He was fortunate to sing in front of Srila Gurudev certain songs, especially the final days of Srila Gurudev. He had to guard his room, the entrance, and had also experience as a preacher, traveling to Russia and other countries and practice Krishna consciousness very nicely, as Srila Gurudev would say. So, how we feel?
Well, I feel very happy to see you again.
Yes.
It's been some time since we've met.
Yes.
Well, I can say, so many things, but a lot has changed since those days, when Srila Gurudev was with us, and, to be counted among your friends, I feel greatly fortunate and
Krishna.
Unworthy, no doubt, but that's the nature of the affection of Srila Gurudev's surrendered servitors, and he himself, he changed our lives in ways that we are still yet to conceive,
Of course.
his heart was so wide, inviting us giving us an opportunity to do some offer some of our energy for his divine purpose,
But you lucky you had some personal association and stay sometimes in India. And as Srila Trivikram Maharaj said, very important, that his main understanding what Krishna consciousness happened when he entered to the circle of Guru. So can you say that? How, or if it's what he says important, then how did it happen with you?
Yeah, it's a good point for myself. When I first went to India, I was 7. I'd just turned 18. I met Srila Gurudev when I was 17 in Australia, and immediately I knew that this is what I've always been looking at. I met the person who I've always been looking for to guide me and everything that I'd ever been looking for, I found in him. He was a living embodiment of the love, the affection, the joy, the compassion, the understanding, the wisdom and the taste of happiness, that everyone's searching for in life, So from that time, I left everything and moved into the temple and, became a monk essentially. And I went to India 6 months later, and although I wanted to stay there as long as I could with Srila Gurudev, he wanted me to go back to Australia and serve the temple there, Sri Govindadam, a very beautiful ashram there with Mahaprabhu. And so I did that, and each year I'd go back to India. And so for the first 10 years of my spiritual life, it was spent mostly in separation from Gurudev, in the sense that I was in Australia and he was in India. And he didn't come again to Australia after 99, which is when I met him.
Would you visit him every year?
Yeah, every year I had the opportunity to go there, Navadip, Calcutta and Vrindavan with him for three months usually. And that was, my hit, my nourishment to keep me going.
But I want to ask you some provocative question.
But hang on, just to
Yes.
cap off that last question. But after I got the opportunity to go to India and live there with Srila Gurudev and serve him in a more kind of, you could say, physically intimate proximity, it changed so many things for me, because I'd known Gurudev from a distance, I'd known him in separation, and my internal connection with him got the chance to develop in separation. So it took me some time to adjust to being around him, to being close to him, to knowing him as a person rather than as my internal, spiritual guide who I didn't really communicate with like this, So it really, I was grateful to have the chance to build a foundation internally first, actually, to then come and spend time with him more personally.
That's an interesting point, what you're saying. So Guru has certain features, certain manifestations. One is our ideal, which is we worship as a picture on an altar. And second thing, as a person. And sometimes people would put all their ideals in the picture, and then dealing with person, realizing, oh, they're looking for something else, or that's not what really matched my ideals on altar. But what you've said is like meeting Srila Gurudev, first of all, accepting him as a spiritual ideal, and then connecting with him as a person, having more deeper progress.
Yeah.
That's kind of an interesting thing. Can you give any comment on that?
Yeah, well, I mean, we heard there's many different manifestations of Guru, and Srila Guru Maharaj used to say that the Chaitya Guru, or the internal Guru, is what brings us to Mahanta Guru, or to find our guide in person, manifestation of divinity, of God, of Krishna, to guide us in our human, kind of lives. So, initially when I met Gurudev, I didn't have any real personal contact with him, except except that he gave me the beads and he gave me some instruction, and I asked him a couple of questions. But more than that, and in India, a couple of questions, but I didn't have the chance to really get to know him as a person, because, as we know, Guru, he himself is his own servitor of Krishna, while at the same time being a manifestation of Krishna for giving guidance. So yeah, it was very interesting experience, and I was extremely grateful to get the opportunity to get to know Srila Gurudev more intimately and be there with him right up until his leaving this world that fateful morning. So,
well, what you've said is an important point, but there are many people who think this way. Well, there were great gurus like Rupa Goswami, Raghunath Das, and then later the, great Vaishnavas like Saraswati Thakur, the Prabhupada, the Govinda Maharaj. And now it seems like no one is equal or close to them, and there might be way when I won't be able to surrender myself. What do you think? What can you tell to people like that?
Well, I mean, in one sense, as the old saying goes, when the student is ready, the teacher will appear. I believe, as Trivikram has said before, in one sense, some people met Gurudev and they just didn't get it. They just didn't get. They
couldn't connect.
Yeah, and I couldn't understand, how is it possible that you met Srila Govinda Maharaj and you didn't want to surrender your life to him, you didn't want to give everything to him, So, in some sense, as Guru Maharaj would say, different strokes for different folks, in a sense, in one regard,
But what about folks that are looking for spiritual life in a serious way? What can you recommend to them?
Well, Srila Sridhar Maharaj would always say that sincerity is invincible. So the sincerity in your heart will meet its corresponding match, in a sense, from God's side, from Krishna's side. So according to the degree of hankering for truth, the degree of sincere desire to meet with God, ultimately, to meet with the truth, then from the other side, from God's side, from Krishna's side, he will approach in a particular form which will, meet your heart's hankering, and there'll be some,
So
natural attraction there.
So that really means we should just keep searching, and if we're sincere, we'll get the response.
Right.
That's a great answer. It's very promising. Look, you're from Australia, which I never been in Australia. I wish to go there one time, but to me, it's like surfing.
Whereas I don't know if Australia is ready for you, Maharaj.
To me, I'm not talking about exactly an objective way. To a Russian guy, Australia is kangaroo surfing, big hole in...
Surfing kangaroos.
Yeah, surfing kangaroos, you'd rather say. And what I understood from the flow of Australia, of course, on a deeper level, there are many young people who already knows, every Australian I met is a genius in his own,
lunchbox, we say.
lament. He has an own lunchbox. And there are a lot of guys who've read books because it's a good education in Australia. It's an eco country. You can't surprise Australian people with yoga or sports or Eastern, Western think. So there are a lot of people who probably are hooked up with Buddhism, impersonalism, kind of like hip, cool people who knows what to do. They actually gurus themselves. They're the people who knows the mantras, who read the books, who went to India, and they're so cool that to them to surrender to somebody, it's not part of the program.
Right.
Am I correct?
Yeah, there is a large swing of that kind of, yeah, that kind of people.
Well, what makes you different from them?
Actually, I could only say good luck, good fortune, because, you know, I met one of the greatest genuine masters, you know, to ever set foot on this planet when I was 17, just by what I would call happy chance. You know, it was a miraculous kind of meeting, and you know, I was searching for truth, but I didn't know I was searching for a guru. You know, I wasn't proactively looking, I need a guru, you know, I've got to go out and find a spiritual master, you know.
So you didn't know that truth is personal.
Exactly. I had no idea.
And you couldn't realize that somebody has a truth in his heart.
Right.
He can share it.
Right. And there's a lot of people like that in especially Byron Bay kind of area where our temple, there's a lot of...
But here's the next question, because we're just about to finish our show, but you kind of like offer yourself to the guru, which is not an Australian idea, went to India and got involved in service. And what do you realize to yourself? Because there are many things would be not what the Western people would think India and guru is. So how did you accept that, tolerate that, how you went deeper with your service?
You mean like the cultural...
everything. What was difficulties?
Well, as with anything, you know, in good company, as Maharaj said before, in affectionate company, you know, many things are made possible. So I mean, the first time I went to India, it was, you know, the greatest shock of my life. You know.
Yeah, that's what I want to hear.
It was just, you know, completely mind-altering, you know, reality-altering. It was another dimension, another universe, another, you know. I mean, Australia has in one sense, the advantage of being a very, you know, quite wealthy country. We have everything pretty easy, you know. If you haven't got a job, the government gives you money. You know, in so many countries that's not there, and so Australians got that very laid-back attitude because of that, and because of that also, I believe that real spiritual searching tendency is a little suppressed because we have it so easily, materially speaking, you know. So it doesn't force people to search. But going to India, the first impression, just seeing, I mean, Kolkata, so much poverty, so much pollution, so much abundance of, you know.
And at the same time, seeing cremation ground of Holy Ganga and realizing you're the most spiritual place in the universe.
Right. Such an abundance of spiritual wealth, you know, disguised underneath, you know, a mountain of rubble, you know. And
then somebody will tell you and offer you a prostrated obeisances.
Right. It's something that you can only read about or see.
But you know what? I'm glad you made it, because as complicated as it is, it's so internally proper to respect and honor somebody who's your teacher, or respect and honor the people. You know, the holy tree is the worship with the songs and you know, dance, and you happen to be around devotees and you learn how to play mridanga drum and sing the songs. And tell me, what do those songs mean for you? What is their meaning for you internally?
Well, I mean, there's one beautiful verse in the scriptures where it says that the real essence of what we know as religion and what we don't know as religion, the real heart of religion, you know, what it's meant, the spiritual essence, that is living in the heart of the saint. You know, that person who realizes those truths about reality, about Krishna, about God, about divine love, and their melted heart's expression in the forms of the songs that they've written in such beautiful poetic form. For me, it was my bread and butter every morning, every night. You know, we would sing those songs for hours, and it gave me so much, because not only is it infused and enriched with deep philosophy, the conclusions of all the vast scriptures of India are condensed within very, very simple poetry, very, very simple Bengali songs. And yeah, for me, it was, it revolutionized my heart, actually, just kind of associating with, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Narottam Thakur, the great saints of the Vaishnavas.
So just knowing
that
that you can have enlightenment through songs, it's kind of like, in the 70s, anybody would love the music and songs, but they couldn't understand that there's a way to get enlightenment from songs, but they have to be songs by enlightened people, not those who lost in the darkness and ignorance.
And George Harrison is, was living proof of that.
Can you sing some song for our viewers now?
Well, Maharaj,
something you really like. Just sing a few lines so that people understand what it is.
We don't have a mridanga here, I guess.
Oh, we do have. Yeah, let's bring it over.
Should we accompany the song?
Oh, of course, we'll do it. I just want to end up this show with kirtan, but we can sing Hari Haraya and a nice song, and I can have kartals.
Awesome.
Because there might be some viewers of this show, they never had a chance to take part in kirtan, or maybe some Indians who'd be really happy to say, it's the songs I've heard in Kolkata, and it's gonna go there, Mat. Thank you. Oops.
Actually, Gurudev was, as everybody knows, his kirtan could melt the heart of anyone who heard it. His song, he was the most expert mridanga player, and I was very lucky that he...
It's now time to show what you learn.
Hare Krishna. What do we sing? Hare?
As you wish, can sing any other song.
Oh, well, Emona Durmati.
That's great.
Prabhu he Emona Durmati Sangsara Bitore Podiai Chinu Ami
Emona Durmati Samsara Bhitare Podiaya Chinuyami
Tavani Jajan Kono Mahajane Pataiya Dile Tumi
Tavani Jajana Kono Mahajane Pataiya Dile Tumi
Doya Kori More Potito Dekia Kohilo Amare Kia
Doya Kore More Potita Dekia Kohilo Amare Kia
He Dina John Tuno Bhalo Khata Ulasita Hobe Hiya
He Dina John Shuna Bala Kata Ulasito Habe Hiya
Tomare Tarite Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Tomare Tarite Shri Krishna Chaitanya
Avadhut Avataro
Avadhut Avataro
Tharilo Jagat Tumio Jaiya
Tharilo Jagat Tumio Jaiya
Lohini Japaridhana
Lohini Japaridhana
Nanda Sutta Jini Chaitanya Goshai Nija Nama Koridana
Nanda Sutta Jini Chaitanya Goshai Nija Nama Paritrana
Tarilo Jagat Tumio Jaiya Lohini Japaritrana
Tarilo Jagat Tumio Jaiya Lohini Japaritrana
Ase Kata Shunya Siya আসিয়াছি না তোমার চরণ তলে
কাহা শুনিয়া আসিয়াছি না তোমার চরণ
ঠাকুর ভক্তি বিনোদা কান্দিয়া কান্দিয়া পন্ন কাহিনী বলে
কাছি বিনা কান্দিয়া কান্দিয়া আপনা কহিয়ে বল
ঠাকুর ভক্তি বিনোদ কান্দিয়া কান্দিয়া আপন কাহিনী বলে ভক্তি বিনোদ কান্দিয়া কান্দিয়া আপন কাহিনী বলে
হরে কৃষ্ণ
হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে হরে
হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে হরে
হরে রাম হরে রাম 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 হরে হরে
হরে রাম হরে রাম 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 হরে হরে
হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে হরে
হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে হরে
হরে রাম হরে রাম 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 হরে হরে
হরে রাম 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 হরে হরে
হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে হরে
হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে হরে
হরে রাম 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 হরে হরে
রাম হরে রাম 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 হরে হরে
হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে হরে
কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে হরে
হরে রাম 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 হরে হরে
রাম হরে রাম 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 হরে হরে
হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে হরে
হরে কৃষ্ণ 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 হরে হরে
হরে রাম 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 হরে হরে
Gandharvika Giridhari Ji ki jai, Shri Giriraj Maharaj ki jai, Jai Manasa Krishna Prabhu ki jai,
Jai Bhakti Vimal Avadhut Maharaj ki.
Bhakti ki jai. So it was Manasa Krishna Prabhu with us tonight and Srila Bhakti Vijay Trivikram Maharaj. We had a nice talk about Krishna consciousness, Brazil, Australia, spiritual life, and we'll continue in our show. And every day we have some program. So thank you very much, all the visitors, and we hope you enjoyed the kirtan and had a great chance to associate with such great devotees, Manasa Krishna and Trivikram Maharaj, and myself, Bhakti Bimal Avadhut Maharaj. I'm always praying for your mercy. Give us more attention, and might be a Krishna consciousness will enter in your daily life, or if it's already a practicing life, then you can always send your reviews and feedback to us. I'll be happy if you inspire us for the work we're doing. Dandavats, Hare Krishna.